Today I have an all-new Epic Universe construction update for you, covering the latest progress and comparing the differences from previous weeks and months to show off how quick crews are working. With that said, let's dive into all the latest aerial photos from BioReconstruct on Twitter. Universal Epic Universe is Universal Orlando Resort's newest theme park, and it's located just a few miles away from the other three parks and City Walk. Epic Universe is scheduled to open up summer of 2025 at the latest, according to the company, and in addition to the theme park, 3 new hotels will also open, rounding out the massive resort expansion. And in addition to the theme park, Universal is working closely with the city to get all of the road infrastructure done before the park opens. The park is looking like it will be split into 4 different theme lands and also include an elaborate central hub that includes a couple attractions, shopping, and dining. Starting off at the front of the park, you can see crews are working on the entrance columns that will eventually look similar to the arching structure that's in front of Universal Studios Florida now. The difference here at Epic Universe, though, is scale. This is what the entrance looked like late May of this year, and crews were still pouring and forming those first sets of support columns that will make up that front arch. Fast forward to late June though, and buildings on the left, rumored to be shops and multi-purpose, have started to receive their initial steel for roofing and some exterior for possible awning structures. And the entrance has also seen some more concrete columns pop up within the month. And in just a short 30 days, the entrance is slowly taking shape, giving us a great idea of how large the entrance statement will be. Remember, these are the smallest set of columns going in. The center arch will be the tallest. Moving on to Super Nintendo World, this is what the entire space looked like back in April of this year. The land wasn't fully sealed off from the rest of the park, the insides of the buildings were still visible in some areas, and there was still a lot of work to be done when it came to the shape of the exteriors. Fast forward to only a couple months and work has progressed very nicely throughout Super Nintendo World, including the Donkey Kong area. And what's really exciting is if you look very close into the land, we're already starting to see some thematic elements over by the Yoshi attraction. Just based off of what I've seen at Hollywood covering the Super Nintendo World there, I would suspect that by the end of the year, we're going to see a lot more theming show up in Super Nintendo World at Epic Universe. Moving on to what looks to be the Donkey Kong section, you can see a lot of work has been happening here as well in just under 60 days. On the attractions facade, you can see that crews have been putting up into place the steel forms that will eventually shape up to be the temple facade, and more work is happening down at the collection pond where the ride will look like it's jumping over water. The plumbing and concrete work down there are moving along pretty nicely on what's going to be a really cool water feature, because remember, this type of roller coaster will give the riders the illusion of jumping over track and various obstacles, just like the video games. And if you look closely, you can already see the false pieces of track being installed to pull off that illusion. And I personally think that the water feature element is going to be one of my favorite moments on the ride. On the opposite side of the water feature, you can see crews are welding into place the beginnings of another side of the temple, which will probably include some very cool rock work. This interior section of the ride remains a mystery, but we may soon get an idea of what the interior will look like based on the exterior facade. This facade also does some double duty because it's blocking the Mario Kart show building, and over time it's going to be fun to watch the design play out to see how the other sight lines will be addressed. But for right now, it's great to see crews working on this one so fast. 6 months ago, this is what everything looked like, so they've been moving very quickly. Let's continue our journey around the park to the rumored Classic Monsters Land, my most anticipated land in the new park. This is what everything looked like roughly 6 months ago at the start of the year. Just like Nintendo, the progress in this area of the park has been pretty steady as well. But 6 months ago, there was barely a roller coaster. The entry shops and dining were only getting started, and the entry portal was just a concrete shell. Fast forwarding to the end of June, and so much has changed. Let's start off with the entry portal, which, by the way, if you haven't already noticed, all the lands in Epic Universe seem to have portals, which is pretty cool. At Monsters, it's looking like this portal will be the most elaborate, at least for now. Scaffolding has been up around it as crews carve out intricate details, and what looks to be rocks and tree roots. You can see that these elements rise all the way to the top where the land's beacon will be. Like we've talked about before, the scale at which this is being presented to the guests looks to be beautiful. These portals are not small, so the fact that we have a massive rock face and tree roots winding up past its original height is pretty stunning. Looking closer through the scaffolding, you could even make out what looks to be the first layers of color on some of the rockwork. Moving through the portal and onto the main thoroughfare of the land, you can see that in 6 months, crews have erected another side of the street and have fleshed out the beginnings of the facades to what we believe will be shopping and dining locations. It's rumored that this little town will look like an old European-style village, and you could see the beginnings of that slowly but surely. Further down the path, a new structure has finally popped up in front of the land's main attraction, and for a while not too much has been happening out front of this massive new ride, but it's looking like this week things are finally starting to change. And if I was to take a guess as to what this might be for, I think it might be for the ride's main marquee sign. Towards the left, lots of work still continues on the land's roller coaster, which, by the way, is allegedly manufactured by Mack Rides. You can see crews installing a web of steel supports in what might be the ride's queue space, and over by what we're thinking is the ride's brake run. And over at the ride's show scene, it's looking like decorative roofing could be installed any day now. Zooming out of monsters, let's pan towards the right to check up on the rumored Wizarding World. Roughly 6 months ago, here's what this area of the park looked like. But fast forward to late June and all of the land's major buildings are up and receiving various stages of theming. Some bits of the facade still need some major steelwork, but in general, the progress here has been tremendous since the start of January. Like Nintendo, this area of the park seems to have many intricate details and levels to each of the facades, so respectively, things might not seem like they're moving as fast as the outside, but I'm sure on the inside, work is moving quick. Work on the land's major marquee entrance statement is progressing as crews have erected scaffolding so they can prepare to theme that out. Groundwork is happening to prepare for what I assume would be plumbing, and more moisture-resistant paneling has been going up around the land's facades to finally seal things up. In the back of the land, crews have been steadily working on the forced perspective illusion, believed to be back there, that will give us a sense that the city goes on for miles. And looking a little closer near that area, you can also see more scenic details are starting to appear. Looking down at all the construction workers really gives us an idea as to how large this space is. And like Diagon Alley, I'm sure this land will have many wow moments while walking in and around the city streets. I would assume scaffolding will start to come down by the end of this year, and by then we will get a better idea of how detailed these massive facades will be. By the land's portal, you can see a new concrete wall has popped up, helping block the rest of the park out. And work has also started on the other side, which might serve as a secondary entrance and exit point. The portal's beacon and decorative elements have not started just yet, but judging by how quick things are moving, we should see the portal receive more elements later this summer. With that, let's move over to the rumored How to Train Your Dragon land. This land looks to be the largest in the park and will also contain the most attractions, judging from what we can see from BioReconstruct. This is what the land looked like late March of this year. Buildings were rising and the beginning stages of theming were happening around the land's lagoon. Track work was nearly complete for the land's roller coaster, and foundations for what's rumored to be shops and quick service were being poured. This is what the land looks like roughly 3 months later, with some impressive progress being made. Starting at the front, this is your latest look at the 2 statues that greet guests upon walking through the portal. They both have received their paintwork, and if I were to guess, I would say the scaffolding should be coming down in the next few weeks. You can also see that the rockwork below them has been receiving more details, which is very nice to see. Moving towards the right, if you're walking in, this is what the theater building looks like, and you can see crews are working on the building's roof structure. This theater is rumored to contain the same show that we've been seeing in Beijing, and if true, that would be a welcome addition to the entertainment lineup at the resort. Another rumored Mack attraction is supposed to be going in this area, and you can see the beginning stages of the load and unload station. It's looking like a massive conveyor belt is being assembled here. Around the land's lagoon, detailed theming continues by scenic designers. Color has officially been popping up around the lagoon's border, and in addition, more rock work has been seen in certain sections. Just a couple months ago, this building was nothing more than foundation, and now is receiving a dome structure as well as curved pieces of steel on the side, which are forming an entry and exit point. On the backside of this building, more rockwork is being formed, and by the looks of it, it looks like the rockwork will be formed on the roof as well. Moving towards the roller coaster, crews have been building a wood station building with purposefully misaligned pieces for theming, and work on this first show scene on the coaster is moving along nicely as well, with new pieces of steel being put into place. Overall, this massive land has been seeing great progress these past couple months, and I'm sure by the end of the year, we're going to start to see some beautiful sections of scenery. Next, let's take a look at the massive dual racing hub coaster, the park's major marquee set of coasters. This is what the coasters looked like in early February of this year. Only one section of the layout received its track, and that was at the front of the attraction. Supports for other sections of the ride were going up, but overall the ride still had a bunch of work ahead of it. You could even see that the station had only just finished up with its foundation and perimeter walls, no arching station canopy, no track, or secondary floor. Well, roughly 4.5 months later, the entire circuit for both coasters was complete. These two roller coasters are massive, and by the looks of it, they're going to be offering some serious airtime. The green side finally had its track work finished closest to the front of the ride, and both circuits have massive twists and turns finished. The brake runs and launches for both coasters are in, and in addition to completed circuits, the very first patches of landscaping have appeared. The coaster station has been receiving dozens of new arching pieces of steel to form the canopy and also what might be the queue space for the ride. Catwalks are also being installed around the launch segments and brake runs, which should be the last few segments attached to the actual coasters. The overall layout looks fantastic, and I can't wait to see the testing phase of these two rides. I think the dueling aspect will bring additional thrill to an already amazing looking attraction. Last but not least, here's a very quick look at the rapid progress happening outside the gates of Epic Universe on the new sister hotels. Being built by the same builder as Dockside and Surfside, these new hotels are getting completed extremely fast. One has completed its main structural build-out, and the other across the street has received its first couple of levels. If the time frame is the same, we should see the secondary hotel rise and be completed in about 3 months, which is very impressive. Looking at the side that's most done, you can see that the pool and spa area are starting to take shape. The pool deck should come later, but at this rate, we should be seeing it poured by the end of the summer. In the front of the hotel, it's looking like the overhead canopy at guest drop-off and pickup has finally gone in, so we should see some roadwork leading up to and from this area very soon. Across the way, once crews finish the main structure, we should be seeing the same identical steel structure in place at this side as well. But with that, I think that's going to do it for today's quick Epic Universe video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead and smash the thumbs up button. And if you're new to the channel and you love these videos from Universal Orlando Resort or some of your other favorite theme parks, consider subscribing because I have brand new videos every single week. Don't forget to check out BioReconstruct on Twitter. They have some amazing aerial photos from Central Florida, and I'll leave their link down below in the description. But until the next video, I hope you have a beautiful day, morning, evening, whatever it is, and I'll see you next time in the parks.